Hold on a second. Are we really about to watch the Atlanta Falcons make the smartest, most boring, most absolutely correct decision of their entire franchise history? Because if they pull the trigger on Jacoby Brissett, that's exactly what's happening. And I know what you're thinking. Jacoby Brissett? That's the answer? That's the savior? Yes, absolutely yes. And here's why this might be the most underrated move the Falcons could possibly make right now. Let's set the stage. November 19th, 2025. Michael Penix Jr., the future franchise quarterback, the guy they drafted 8th overall, is dealing with a partially torn ACL. The timeline for his return in 2026 is a complete question mark. The Falcons are staring down the barrel of a nightmare scenario where they enter next season with zero certainty at the most important position in sports. And while fans are out here dreaming about blockbuster trades for Kyler Murray or praying Kirk Cousins somehow turns back the clock, Dave Cho from the Falcoholic just dropped the most rational, most practical, most brilliantly unsexy solution imaginable. Go get Jacoby Brissett from the Arizona Cardinals. And you know what? He's absolutely right. This is the move. This is the insurance policy that saves the Falcons from complete disaster without mortgaging their future or destroying their salary cap. Brissett isn't going to sell jerseys. He's not going to get fans fired up on social media. But he's going to do something way more important. He's going to keep this team competitive while Penix recovers. And he's going to do it without costing them a fortune in draft capital or guaranteed money. Let's talk about what Jacoby Brissett actually brings to the table, because this isn't some washed-up veteran limping to the finish line. Choate calls him a methodical pocket passer with a strong arm who can bulldoze defenders in the red zone as a runner and is smart enough to take what defenses give him. That's not just analyst speak. That's a description of exactly what the Falcons need. They need stability. They need competence. They need a guy who can walk into the building, learn the playbook, and execute without drama. And here's the kicker. Brissett just set an NFL record for completions in a game. He elevated the play of skill position players in Arizona like Michael Wilson and Trey McBride. He's not just surviving out there. He's actually performing at a level that makes the players around him better. That's not a backup quarterback. That's a legitimate bridge starter who can hold down the fort for however long the Falcons need him to. Now, let's get to the beautiful part. The cost. This is where the Brissett move goes from smart to absolutely genius. The Falcons could pry him away from Arizona for a day 3 pick. We're talking a 4th, 5th, 6th, maybe 7th round selection. That's nothing. That's the kind of draft capital you throw around without thinking twice. And his contract for 2026 is described as very reasonable. We're not talking about Kirk Cousins' $57 million cap hit. We're not talking about Kyler Murray's $40 million salary. We're talking about an affordable, manageable contract that gives the Falcons flexibility to build the rest of their roster. Choate says he'd be delighted with Brissett as the team's insurance for Penix next year. Delighted. That's the word. And that's exactly the right emotion, because this move checks every single box. It gives him a competent starter if Penix isn't ready for week 1. It gives him a quality backup if Penix is ready but needs support. It doesn't cost them significant draft capital. It doesn't destroy their cap space. It's a rare NFL move that has almost no downside. Let's contrast this with the alternatives, because the other options floating around are either impossible, irresponsible, or just plain bad. Keeping Kirk Cousins at $57 million for a 37-year-old quarterback who played poorly? The article calls it incredibly unlikely, and that's being generous. It's insane. It's organizational malpractice. Trading for Kyler Murray? Sure, if you want to give up a high draft pick and take on $40 million in salary for a quarterback with pressure issues who the article describes as not exciting. That's not a solution. That's trading one problem for a different, more expensive problem. What about Spencer Rattler from the Saints? Intriguing and cheap, but the article points out the obvious. It's hard to imagine a division rival trading a young quarterback to Atlanta. The Saints aren't going to help the Falcons solve their quarterback crisis. And the free agent market? Daniel Jones? Russell Wilson? The article calls that list pretty grim, and that might be the understatement of the year. Those are names that inspire zero confidence, zero excitement, and zero belief that they can actually lead a team to meaningful success. Brissett is different. He's proven, he's affordable, he's available, and most importantly, he's exactly what the Falcons need right now. This isn't about finding the next Patrick Mahomes. This is about swinging for the fences on a high-risk, high-reward gamble. This is about being smart. This is about being responsible. This is about making sure that when 2026 kicks off, the Atlanta Falcons have a legitimate plan at quarterback regardless of Michael Penix's health status. Think about the timeline here. Penix has a partially torn ACL. The recovery timeline is uncertain. The Falcons cannot go into next season hoping he's ready, praying he's healthy, crossing their fingers that everything works out. They need a backup plan. They need insurance. And Jacoby Brissett is the best insurance policy on the market. He's the guy who can start week 1 if necessary and keep the team competitive. He's the guy who can mentor Penix if he's healthy. He's the guy who provides stability in a situation that's currently defined by chaos and uncertainty. And here's what makes this move even smarter. It doesn't close any doors. If the Falcons trade for Brissett and Penix is ready to roll in training camp, great. Brissett becomes the backup, and you've got one of the better quarterback rooms in the league. If Penix needs more time, Brissett starts and you're not throwing a rookie or a washed veteran out there to get destroyed. It's flexibility. It's optionality. It's the kind of roster management that good organizations execute. The Falcons have made some questionable decisions at the quarterback position recently. Signing Kirk Cousins to that massive deal and then immediately drafting his replacement was organizational whiplash that made them look incompetent. But trading for Jacoby Brissett, that would be the opposite. That would be a clear-eyed, rational, smart decision that shows they've learned from their mistakes. It shows they understand the value of stability. It shows they're not going to panic and make another expensive error just because they're desperate. Dave Choate from the Falcoholic laid out the blueprint. The Falcons would be wise to follow it. A day 3 pick and a reasonable contract for a proven, competent quarterback who can bridge the gap to Michael Penix's return or serve as a long-term backup if Penix is ready to go. That's not flashy. That's not going to generate headlines or get fans excited. But it's going to work. And in the NFL, especially the quarterback position, sometimes boring and effective beats sexy and risky every single time. The Atlanta Falcons are at a crossroads. They can chase big names and big contracts and potentially make another catastrophic mistake. Or they can be smart, be patient, and go get Jacoby Brissett. The choice seems pretty obvious to me. This is the move that saves a franchise from disaster without sacrificing the future. This is the insurance policy that lets them sleep at night, knowing they have a plan regardless of what happens with Michael Penix. And if they're smart, if they're listening to the right voices, they'll make this happen before someone else realizes what a steal Brissett actually is.